What is up, Titan Nation? Hope y'all are doing good tonight. It's good to see you all again, to hear you all again, to see your chats. And I see y'all have already been commenting a lot, and that's awesome. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all being a little early tonight. So I actually just got home. I was kayaking today with Sin City Titan. We were kayaking with manatees. It was pretty cool. So I got pretty burnt. Apparently the sun is still hot in South Florida, even if it's 70 degrees outside. So anyways, we got an awesome show lined up for you guys tonight. We got Titans for Life, a.k.a. James Wheeler, a.k.a. the Big Sportsman. And we got No Flags Film on, and hopefully Ken Moore will be popping in at some point tonight. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's get it rolling.
Oh, how y'all doing? This is Jalen Fly, a.k.a. the Mountain Mover. Make sure y'all follow my movement. But in the meantime, check us out. I need y'all to like and subscribe because this is Titans Rossi. Oh, let's go.
All right, let's bring these guys in here. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
Pretty fun. Pretty fun doing some research lately.
Yeah, man. I know both of you guys. I've been wanting to have both of y'all on at the same time because both of you guys are X's and O's guys, and you really know the game. So I'm excited to have both of you on. Like I said, Ken Moore might be joining us at some point. I know he was working tonight, and he's a busy man doing his thing. But I guess. One of the topics of the show I kind of wanted to get into tonight, and it's obviously the coaching changes and the things that are going on with the Titans. We'll get into the Super Bowl a little bit later. I know Upload's going to probably have a show on that either tomorrow or Saturday. But as we saw, they gave Vrabel and J-Rob a contract extension. I don't see how anybody could see it being a bad move. How do you guys overall, and we can start with No Flags on the bottom here, but how do you guys as a whole see, have these guys really turn this franchise around? And do you see this thing continuing to have that continuity with Vrabel and J-Rob at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, I think starting with John Robinson, I would say his approval rating is pretty consistently high among Titans fans. As with any GM, there's still going to be people occasionally like saying we should fire J-Rob or whatever. But I mean, I would put his track record specifically in the draft up there with any other GM in the NFL outside of probably New Orleans and maybe Baltimore. But I mean, you look at like the first thing that people have to realize is that teams are going to miss on prospects. Like there's going to be Kevin Dodd and I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything final about Dylan Radins, but say Dylan Radins doesn't pan out. Like there's going to be examples of players that just, maybe their bodies stop developing. Maybe they don't have the work ethic. Maybe they don't get the right coaching. Maybe they're not a scheme fit. But if you just look across John Robinson's drafts, specifically in the mid to late rounds, the amount of value he's been able to add: Christian Fulton in the second, AJ Brown in the second, Amani Hooker in the fourth, David Long in the sixth, Dane Cruikshank in the fifth, Jayon Brown in the fifth. Like he's just done Kevin Byard in the third. He's done such a good job of consistently filling the roster with a baseline of talent. And, I would encourage people who are not impressed with John Robinson's drafting track record to look up Titans draft history and, go through the drafts before John Robinson came here. And I mean, just look at it. It'll be, 8 picks and none of them contributed at all, And so I think John Robinson's one of the best GMs in the league. Definitely has made some moves that I disagreed with at the time and that have not worked out. My least favorite draft pick was still Darrington Evans. I know Isaiah Wilson had a worse, outcome, but like spending a 3rd round pick on a backup running back where like best case scenario, you're getting Theo Riddick when you already have Derrick Henry at Des Fitzpatrick's another one. Vic Beasley, like he's made moves that I've disagreed with, but I definitely view him as a competent GM. And then Mike Vrabel, I think that it's sort of a thing where like the record speaks for itself. What he's been able to do as far as, creating a really healthy and strong locker room culture. The thing with a defensive minded coach is that his success is to a certain extent going to be reliant on the offensive coordinator hires. And, we've seen that over the past few years play out with Arthur Smith, Todd Downing, kind of seeing how those offenses contrast and compared to one another. But I think that Mike Vrabel is absolutely a top 10 coach in the NFL. Probably wouldn't put him in the top 5, but no reason not to extend both of those guys.
Oh, crap. Sorry. Sorry about that. And what do you think, James?
I mentioned earlier in another show, I think it's not just those two that have kind of created the culture. Everybody wants to talk about, J-Rob. J-Rob has done, to me, I would put him, A- when it comes to draft picks. He takes some chances, and lots of times those chances, pan out fairly well. But sometimes it takes a little while for those chances to kind of manifest themselves. I think he has to get a little bit better at not picking up players that are injured and they miss like almost all the first year or all the first year. I think this year he cannot do that. That's going to be a huge problem if he does, because we need help immediately. And some of the guys that he's drafted over the last couple of years haven't been able to come in and immediately help because they've been injured for the first season. But I think overall, J-Rob has done a fantastic job. I mean, you look at where we were versus where we are now, and it's, contributed to his ability to do all of the roster moves that he needs to do. And if you take a look at this year, with all the injuries and the roster moves he was able to make, the ability for him to go in and get what the Titans needed and adapt to it quickly, and then hand that player that he got off to the coaching staff. And then this player, all of a sudden, he may come from a team and look like a scrub, and then come in and look like a superstar. I mean, that only happens if the head coach and the head coach and the GM have a strong relationship. But that strong relationship only happens if the ownership kind of gets there and tells them, look, you're both the men, you're both the guys. And Amy has done that. I think Amy has set this team up for success in a way that, the previous ownerships haven't. I think that her being in there and saying, okay, this player had some issues in college, and I'm going to talk to him, and then sitting down, speaking with him, and saying, okay, J-Rob, go ahead and draft him. I think that kind of stuff is the kind of things that allows the coaches to have confidence in upper management, and then upper management has confidence in the coaches because they produce. We win. Even with all the injuries, with players that have never played together, guys who are sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, and then the next day they're in, they're in a Titans jersey. So if you're asking, my confidence level in organization, this is the strongest it has ever been. Point blank. It's the strongest that I've ever seen it. It's the strongest that it's ever been in my, from the top, all from ownership all the way down. It is extremely strong. I have a lot of confidence in them. Yes, they're going to make mistakes. I don't know even the best GM on the planet is going to make a mistake here or there. They're going to miss here or there, and you have to live with that. But it's not just the misses; is how you deal with the misses, and they've dealt with them.
I've been watching that series that's on Man in the Arena. I don't know if y'all saw that the Brady series where it follows every single Super Bowl he was in, even the ones he lost. I don't know if it shows the ones with the Bucks, but it just a few things that stood out to me in it, and the word continuity. That's something that the Titans love. Vrabel loves. Bringing up guys that are already in the organization, like with Bowen and Downing and things like that. And seeing what the Patriots have done over the last, almost 2 decades now, at least the last 15 years, is pretty incredible what they've done. And for the most part, they stuck to a certain nucleus. Now, there were some times where even the years they picked up Randy Moss, they kind of went away from what they typically do. Now, they went 16-0 that season, but they went 16-1. They went in the season undefeated. They lost in the Super Bowl and all that. But you see like the continuity in the way that they build their organization. And I think that's kind of like what J-Rob and Vrabel are trying to mold. You know what I mean? And Gabriel says this. He says, hope all you saw the video of Mahomes talking about how good he thinks Vrabel is as a coach. Love to hear your comments now that he is our future. And I was watching that too in the Man in the Arena, and Vrabel was on that a lot. He was commenting out, throughout the series a lot. And, he was the leader of that team as well. I mean, he was a defensive leader, but a leader of the team as well. And I like what they're doing, man. I like what they're doing. It's the last 6 years were the second winningest franchise, I think, as far as by record goes, or second in winning seasons, consecutive winning seasons. It's one or the other. I don't know if it's wins or consecutive winning seasons, but there's something to be said for that. Yes, some of those were 9-7, you know what I mean? But there's something to be said for that. Which kind of leads into my next question for you guys is the hire of Tim Kelly. And you look at everybody was coming for Downing's head after that game, and mostly through the season. And I know No Flags. I know you had tweeted a lot about Downing throughout the season and this and that. And I know you've done exhaustive studies on Downing, probably more than you even wanted to. but I mean, with this Tim Kelly hire now, I mean, he gets a lot of credit for Davis Mills and getting more out of Davis Mills than anybody ever thought Davis Mills had. And all that stuff, being a rookie at least. I don't know much about Tim Kelly past what he did this season, and maybe you guys know a little bit more. But in A to Z brought up this subject too, and I'll shut up. But A to Z brought this point up: is Tim Kelly our Aaron Rodgers? You know what I mean? What kind of impact do you think this is going to have? We'll start with you at the bottom, No Flags. What type of impact do you think Tim Kelly is going to have on this offense on Downing?
I think people are definitely overestimating the impact that Tim Kelly will have, just like people overestimated the impact that Jim Schwartz had on the defense. I mean, I think he's a good coach and he's a good football mind, and obviously adding that type of person to your organization is a no-brainer. But Todd Downing will still be the play caller. He'll still be in control of the offense. And, I think you'll just have a situation where any improvement that the Titans offense shows this season will be credited to Tim Kelly, and any lack of improvement or regression or stagnation will be chalked up as, Mike Vrabel needs to let Tim Kelly take more control. It's these sort of things are very easy to speculate about on Twitter, and it would be very easy for me to say like, Jim Schwartz is the reason that the Titans defense turned around. And my latest video is is on Shane Bowen and the Titans defense. And I basically said that I'm going to credit Shane Bowen, Mike Vrabel, and the improved personnel for the defensive improvement until somebody can point to legitimate, like tangible things that so many names that Jim Schwartz has implemented that have caused the defense to improve. I mean, show me on the film exactly what the Titans are doing and prove to me that Jim Schwartz had that effect. I'm not going to be someone that's just going to look at the results and look at the correlation and just kind of be like, oh yeah, I guess that was him. I mean, from season to season, so many things change. The Titans will definitely cut players. They will add players in the draft and free agency. And it's above my pay grade to really just sit here and, speculate on that.
Yeah.
Me personally, when it comes to Tim Kelly, this was a move that I kind of speculated on earlier that I thought the Titans were going to bring in someone who had a lot more experience as an OC, who maybe could come in and do some things. I think his major contribution is probably going to be the lack of situational awareness that was displayed in the offense this year. Putting players out there that making them and getting them into situations where they weren't going to be able to succeed. Putting plays out there where the wrong personnel was on the field. There was a good concept in the play. The play had great concepts, but and I know no flags, you've seen it where they had a great concept, but it was executed poorly because essentially the wrong personnel were on the field to make that play successful. I think that is where Kelly comes in. I think that's where Tim is going to make a huge impact and be like, we don't have the right personnel on the field for that play, another play. And with Vrabel being more defensive minded, I think that was the weakness, is that we didn't have anyone to go, no, you can't run that play. And I think that's where he becomes vital to the Titans' success offensively next year. When it comes to Jim Schwartz, where I think Jim Schwartz was the most successful, is you noticed that the Titans played a lot more defensively, played with a lot more technique. They played with much better technique, much better hand placement. And I think that is where Jim Schwartz came in. But when you talk about scheme and fit, I don't think he had a whole lot to do with that. I think he really drilled down on, okay, look, like Jeffrey Simmons, he played with much better technique. He played with much better hand placement. He played with much better bend. So I think that's where he came in. But it's one of those things where you can't really point it out unless you're in the practice. And I've had sources to tell me, where Schwartz was really good at is that he came in and kind of said, look, when we're in this particular down distance play situation, this is how you need to bend. This is where your hand placements need to be. This is what's going to happen behind you. So they played with much better technique. That's why we were so successful in a lot of the twists and stunts and defensively, was that we were playing last year, but we just weren't getting to the quarterback. Now we're getting the quarterback because guys are on the front of the line were occupying more than one player because they were a handful, because they were playing with much better technique, which allowed them to take up more offensive resources.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I have no doubt. Like, it's like I have no doubt. I think Jim Schwartz is a great coach, and so I have no doubt that he had a positive effect.
Mhm.
My thing is just like not being in their meetings on a day-to-day basis. Unless there's something just blatantly different schematically, I have no way of saying, oh, Jim Schwartz added this. It's like it's all just kind of speculation unless you have an inside source or unless you're actually a part of the organization. So that's how I expect it to be with Tim Kelly. Like I'm sure he will have a positive effect because I think he's a good offensive coach. But as far as like what that effect will be, I'm not going to pretend that I can predict that. And I'm not like next year, it's going to be difficult to really parse out what exactly he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. It's impossible. I just happen to have sources that were telling me things
right.
like that.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, this is something I didn't know. Wow, this is something that we didn't understand. This is why, if you noticed, the Titans got a little wider on the defensive line last year. Sometimes they'd be a footer or maybe a foot and a half over further than what they normally would, and that caused the outsides of the offensive tackles to kind of go a little wider themselves, which creates those small holes that you can twist into or you can stun into. And that was just something, that's just a attention to detail type thing that the DC sometimes doesn't have time to do. The DC is looking at everything. They're looking at cornerbacks, they're looking at safeties, they're looking at linebackers, they're looking at defensive line. But if you have a guy who's just sitting there monitoring one thing, which should have been the defensive line coach, but the defensive line coach is concentrating just on the defensive line, not the linebackers. So you've got one of those things where having that guy that's back there going, I can't figure out why we're not successful. Let me go look at this tape. And they're concentrating on one or two little things, and then they see it and they go, oh, that's it. That's where I think Jim Schwartz came in, is that he had the ability to do that and then implement those things. And it made our defense better. And I think that's the same thing that's going to happen with Kelly, is that he's going to have a little bit more time to drill down on each and every aspect of every play.
Yeah,
but
and just one more.
You're not going to be able to tell. I mean, there's no way to tell because you're not going to change the offense. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, one more thing I'll add is I'm actually going to the Glazier Clinic in Franklin, Tennessee. I think end of February. Awesome. And Ryan Crow, Titans outside linebackers coach, is going to be doing a presentation there. So maybe I'm sure I'll pick up some nuggets from that. I know the O-line coach, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I watched his clinic last year and it was really illuminating. So we'll see.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You get to do that. Yeah, I mean, if you get to talk to him, I mean, obviously you don't want to like ask too crazy questions, but yeah, I mean, it would be something. And
what would you say is a crazy question? I'll make sure to ask it, and I'll say it's from you. Give me a crazy question to ask.
Something crazy, like what's Downing's problem?
Hey man, can you trade Nick DeZunbar for Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I would be like, what's Downing's problem, dude? Why did he do that? What's his issue? Like,
Yeah,
they'd be like, they'd be like, get out of here, dude. Like, but no.
Well, I mean, I would like to know, looking at the right side of the offensive line this year was painful for me. What do you think? What is your evaluation of the Titans' right side of the offensive line?
Are you asking me, or are you saying I should ask Ryan Crow that?
No, I'm asking both you and Rossi. I mean,
Ryan Kerr.
I thought like so Nate Davis, I thought was two completely different players through the first 75% of the season, and then I can't remember if he got COVID. I think he got COVID. He was out for a game, and then he came back in like the last 4 to 5 games of the year. Like he was outstanding, I thought. I thought David Quessenberry, So Questenberry is interesting because he had 2 games where he was just a complete disaster, the Jets game and the Steelers game. The games outside of that, if you look at like his pressures allowed and sacks allowed and PFF grades, which I normally think are pretty reliable for pass blocking. But if you look at that stuff, it's like, oh yeah, he's pretty, he's holding up pretty well. But if you actually like watch the film and just watch him on a snap to snap basis, there will be so many times where he's technically not allowing the player to get to the quarterback. But if you like look at his balance, look at his footwork, it's like, dude, this is not a good tackle. It's like, I mean, it's like it's kind of like that picture. I don't watch superhero movies, but it's like Spider-Man where he's like holding the train with his like the webs or whatever. I don't. It's like, dude, this guy's like hanging on by a thread. And I mean, there would be times like what they would do with David Questenberry. It was hard to watch, but they would chip with the tight end or the running back. And then David Questenberry would stand about 2 feet from the quarterback, just kind of like crouched over like this and just basically brace for contact and like the edge rusher gets off of the chip and then just like sprints into David Questenberry. And he's like probably closing his eyes, gritting his teeth, and he just gets pushed into Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill gets the ball off, quickly enough to where that doesn't count as him allowing a pressure or whatever. But I'm like, dude, this is not going to last. So yeah, those are my thoughts on David Questenberry. Yeah. With all that being said, though, I think the Titans' worst offensive lineman this past year was Roger Saffold, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with the fact that he wasn't fully healthy. But I mean,
but how did he make the Pro Bowl?
Name recognition, man.
Yeah, man.
I was watching the right side of the offensive line, and me and Rossi, we were just talking about it. We talk about it during the game when he would come up and go to the game with me, and we talked about it, kind of off camera sometimes, and call it. And I would be watching. Be watching the film, and I would just be amazed, just kind of like, really he's a starting right tackle? Are you kidding? And it would be I'd be so frustrated. And to me, that the right side of the offensive line, it doesn't just need help, it needs a complete overhaul. It was painful to watch. It really was.
Yeah, I mean, I think you keep Nate Davis because he's he's still cheap on a rookie contract. You look at what he was, the way that he played after in the final stretch of the season when he was healthy, and he definitely looked like an above average guard. I think that right tackle, I would 100% agree that you try to upgrade there. I think David Questenberry, like, to be your swing tackle or to be depth, like, that's great to have a guy that has starting experience. I mean, there's no such thing as offensive line depth in the NFL, and so I think he's absolutely someone, because like we talked about, we were talking about who we thought they would cut. I mean, I expect Kendall Lamb to be out of there because you saved $3.5 million. So I mean, I'm comfortable with Questenberry as the swing tackle, but yeah, definitely upgrade at right tackle, whether that's Radens, another draft pick, free agent signing, whatever it is.
Do you think they're gonna go? What do you think the Titans? And I know you got to go soon, but what do you think the Titans' first round draft pick is going to be? What position? Do you have a good idea on that, or what
yeah?
You
so
think?
I'm like fully in draft mode. I'm going through. I just finished the quarterbacks last night at like 2 a.m. and then watched running backs basically since then. So I'm like the way I did it is I watched a couple games of all, like, basically the top 100 guys, and then I'm going and doing my in-depth, like, watch 7 or 8 games just by position. So I know a ton about the quarterbacks. I'm starting to know a ton about the running backs. I think the receiver class is there's a lot of guys that I view as like a high-end number 2 guy. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson is my number 1 receiver at this point. I doubt he will be there when the Titans are picking. I like Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. He reminds me a lot of Corey Davis, just kind of his play style. He's a big catch radius, but really fast, does a really good job sinking his hips. So I think there could be receiver options. The tackle class, there's 3 kind of consensus top guys: Evan Neal, Charles Cross, and Ike Ekwonu. Those guys will be gone, I expect, in the top 12 picks. And then there's kind of a handful of fringe, borderline first-round tackles. You've got Bernard Raymond out of Central Michigan, who's like this converted tight end. You've got Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa, who commits a unnecessary roughness like once every 3 plays. I'm not a huge fan of either of those guys. I didn't think they played that well in the Senior Bowl. So my pick would be receiver, and this is an unpopular opinion, I don't think the Titans should re-sign Harold Landry. So I would not hate going edge rusher like Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. It's a really deep edge rushing class where normally your best bet is getting those guys in the first round, but I think you can get into the second round and still get edge rushers with good length, good explosiveness that can contribute from day one. So that was that was a long answer that I didn't actually answer, but I would say as far as my expectations, I expect receiver. As far as my wants, I would want a receiver or an edge rusher.
Okay.
Mine is kind of tight end. I think the Titans really need a tremendous upgrade at tight end. We've got some, I would say, serviceable guys, but there's, I think I heard a coach once say when evaluating talent, he used to write down guy or dude or, and, we have some guys.
Yeah.
We don't have the dude.
You know what there, and this is just my opinion, but you know what there is in this draft class with tight ends, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys.
It's like, I would love, the Titans, that's kind of been one of my most like consistent things throughout this whole season is just like talking crap on like the Titans tight ends because they've been so bad. But like, and I, theoretically love the idea of upgrading that position. The way that I see it, and like, obviously this is just my opinion, everybody do your own research. I'm not, a prodigy scouting or whatever, but like the way I see it is Trey McBride out of Colorado State is a 3rd round, late 2nd, maybe tight end. He's my tight end 1. He's the only one that I'm taking until day 3. I don't see a lot of athleticism, guys that are athletic in this class, they can't block and they can't catch. Guys that can block, they can't run fast. It's kind of I think, you can, I would definitely like address it in the 5th round, 6th round, get maybe even like double up, get some starting caliber guys because they need that. But I don't think you're getting I just don't see the ceiling with many of the tight ends in this class.
Well, when I looked at Trey McBride, I came to slightly different conclusion. I found that when he needed to block, he was capable of blocking. It just seemed to me that he didn't want to.
Really,
there were times that he didn't seem like he wanted to. But when it comes to catching, there were several games and several instances where I don't know how he caught the ball. I honestly don't.
Yeah,
it was one of those.
He was Colorado State's entire offense this year.
Yeah. So yeah. I think he is a guy who I think he's more than a guy, but slightly less than a dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he's kind of in the middle.
I've described him as like the Kenny Pickett of tight end prospects, where he's like a B to B plus at everything. There's nothing that I see on his tape where I'm like, oh my God, we have got to get this guy. But there's not a ton where I'm like, oh, we got to, cover up for this, or, oh, he's terrible in this area. I think he's just kind of an all around good tight end.
But to be honest with you, I wouldn't be too upset if the Titans decided to trade out of the first round. I wouldn't
yeah.
be too upset with that. Just because I think we need picks, and I think some of these guys can be dudes given the right instruction and time. So that's where I am on the draft right now. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, at this late in the first round, I just don't know if there's going to be anybody there who can have a big enough impact to where you would need to take him in the first round if you couldn't come back in the second round. But I think there are going to be some teams that have a guy that they really want late in the first round, and they may be willing to make a trade.
And I know you got to get out of here in a minute, no flags, but a couple things in the chat, a couple people asking you real quick. Sin City says, what do you think of Gesicki or Cook?
So when it comes to free agent tight ends, my number one on my list would be David Njoku. Gesicki, so like Anthony Ferkser has been one of my least favorite players, just like not personally, but just like from a film watching perspective and like a talking about the Titans perspective, because people think of him as a tight end, but he doesn't play tight end. Like the Titans list him as that on their roster. That's great for them. He doesn't line up with his hand in the dirt. He plays slot receiver. Like he is a wide receiver. He lines up at tight end, I think 12% of snaps this season. Mike Gesicki played tight end, like inline tight end on 7% of snaps this past season. So I think Mike Gesicki is like really talented receiving threat. And, you know, I don't have anything specifically against Mike Gesicki as a player, like as a receiver. He doesn't fix your tight end problem. Like you need someone that can block and catch the ball, that offers that dual threat, that creates a numbers advantage for your offense. Because when the tight end comes on the field, a team knows, all right, if we go into base, we're going to have a slow linebacker covering this fast tight end. If we go into nickel, we're going to have a small linebacker getting mauled by this powerful tight end. So like that's the value of the tight end position to me. Mike Gesicki does not fulfill that. So I'm not a big fan of the Titans getting Mike Gesicki. David Njoku would be my guy at that position.
Well, one more for you, and we'll let you.
One of the things that I wanted to add about no flags, what he was saying is that the other thing that a tight end can do, especially if he can run a seam route, is he can hold that safety a few steps, and that few steps is more than enough for your other wide receivers who are out there to get open, and that causes problems. That causes a lot of problems, because especially if that seam route comes open, and it's an easy throw for a quarterback to hit that seam route because it's literally right in front of them. So the safeties have to stay in place, and you can't load the box.
That was the first throw of Ryan Tannehill's Titans career against the Chargers, seam route to Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
Let's see. One more for you, man, then we'll let you bounce out of here. Sauce Monster. And Sauce, I saw your donation earlier. We appreciate that very much, man. But Sauce had a question about Perrion Winfrey. Yeah. So Perrion Winfrey is one of the most difficult evaluations in this class, because Oklahoma's defensive coordinator, who I'm drawing a blank on, has done a really good job of turning that defense around from what it was. But in terms of creating a defensive system that makes it easy for people like me to evaluate defensive line talent, he's done a terrible job, because like their entire defensive scheme as far as their front is just slants, gap exchanges, twists, stunts. There's very few one-on-one opportunities. Like you turn on Perrion Winfrey's tape and it's really underwhelming. Like I had him just barely in my top 100 when I watched a few games of his, because, you know, he kind of gets pushed around in the run game, seems to have a good, you know, explosive first step, but you know, you never really see him in these traditional pass rushing situations that you're going to see him in the NFL. So I wasn't a big fan of Perrion Winfrey, but then you watch him in the Senior Bowl and he looks like a completely different player. He looks like he can be this explosive, you know, 3-tech with some inside outside versatility. And
it's going to be a really difficult evaluation because the film and the film doesn't put him in a good situation from an evaluation perspective. So, I'm going to have to see how he tests at the combine. And he's probably going to be a guy that I just stick at 38 to 40 ranking and say, like, I don't know, he's probably going to be good. I might have to punt on that evaluation because I would encourage people to we had this with forget the Oklahoma edge rusher last year. I've been trying to watch Nick Benito, who's an edge rusher for Oklahoma. It's tough out there for Oklahoma front four players.
I would really like to see his 3-cone before I did a real good evaluation of him, because that 3-cone shows your lateral change and your quickness and things. So I would like to see his 3-cone. I would like to see it several times. I don't want to see it once or twice, because it's going to be extremely difficult to evaluate him, because I don't think that he was a really good fit at Oklahoma for what Oklahoma started doing. I just don't think he was a really good fit for that. But then at the same time, a guy who's not a good fit but comes in and still is impactful, it's one of those things where I'm sitting there going, but personally, I don't think that is a position of need for the Titans. So I haven't really been looking at him.
As far as Titans, I'm not touching the defensive line until late in the draft.
Yeah. I might get a guy who can come in there and give me, a couple of downs a game to kind of give somebody a blow or something like that. Or we get up in a game real big and just kind of, we don't really want to put our starters out there or whatever. That's the, that happens in what, 4th, 5th, and 6th round. So, that's where I am right now on that.
Well, man, I'm going to let you get No Flags. I know you got to go. Just let them know kind of, what you got coming up in the future and where to find you if the people in the chat don't know.
Yeah, I'm in the process of just grinding the tape on draft players, and quarterback rankings video should be coming out within the next week or two. It's going to be probably 30 minutes breaking down the top 10, 5 minutes on each player, just breaking down film, talking about my thoughts on them. And I'm going to do that with all the positions. So really excited for draft season. YouTube is No Flags Film and Twitter is No Flags Film.
All right, man. Thank you very much for coming on, dude. It's always awesome. So I appreciate you always be willing to come on the show and stuff. So
yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you later.
Thanks, No Flags.
There you go. There's No Flags Film in the flesh. Dude, that dude's awesome, man. He is pursuing this full time, as he told us before the show. So, y'all give your love and subscribe to No Flags. Give them a follow if you haven't yet. Let's get to some of these comments, man. There's been a lot of comments. We've kind of skipped on, but it's hard when we got a lot of guests on here. But I'm going to back up and let's get to some of these comments in here and kind of follow up with some of these guys in the chats. MB says, thanks, guys, for all the work you do. You all offer something a little different, which is great for us viewers. And also, James right here has joined the Titan Upload Network. So he is our newest member. So he's another guy that's going to be giving you guys his angle on things. And he's got great insight. He knows a lot about the team. He knows a lot about the inner workings, the X's and O's. So he's going to be bringing you guys a lot of awesome content. He's got a channel, Titans for Life, on YouTube. So check him out for sure. Sauce, thank you so much for the donation, man. You never have to donate. You're pretty much a part of the Titan Upload Network as well, man. You do so much as a moderator for us and always getting us our stuff out there. So, but it is appreciated for sure. Ryan Harris, another guy y'all need to go follow at the Jump Pass TN. He's got a podcast out there. So y'all go follow him. Billy Man, what's up? Todd Downing is more to blame. Second blame goes to Tannehill. Jay Tyrus says, yes, Traylon this draft and maybe his QB the following draft. Are you talking about Traylon Burke, or what's his name? Traylon Burks from Arkansas. Let's see. Gabriel, I've seen you in here, man. Thanks for tuning in. He says Ravens would be great at left tackle with proper coaching. New right guard in the draft. Tight end is most important. What do you think about Radens well, I mean, Radens, that's what Radens came in. He played left tackle.
He's a true left tackle.
Yeah.
They put him on the right side, and it was a disaster. But the sample size for Dylan Radens at left tackle is really small. It's a game.
Yeah.
So to me, he played outstanding. He reached a couple of times because he wasn't in position properly. There were a few times that I looked at it and I thought, well, he's kind of reaching, but he was able to recover somewhat. So but he looked really well. You know, he looked really good in those, and when he did that. So my expectations for Dylan Radens is that over time, he's going to end up being the starting left tackle. He is not a guard. He's just not big enough to be a guard. He gets mauled when he's a guard, but he's really good at left tackle. It's his natural step. You can tell when he was on the right side, it just didn't look natural. He wasn't smooth. His footwork was a little sloppy. Then you move him to the left side, and all of a sudden, it looks like he's an all-pro out there playing. So that's me when I look at Dylan Radens.
And yeah, no, I agree with you there, man. I if I just don't, I don't see I don't know what they're going to do with Luan, man. They're going to be able to save a lot of money by letting him go. This could be the end of the line for him in Tennessee. Who knows? I mean, he was talking about retirement if he couldn't stay with Tennessee. So we'll see what happens, man. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on this offseason for us. Hopefully they can kind of keep that nucleus and add to it. What's up, 615? How you doing, man? He says Jalen Weidemeyer. I've heard of him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start digging into the draft more, guys. We'll have shows and stuff. Of course, we'll all have shows on the draft and stuff like that across the Titan Upload Network. But we'll start digging into that stuff, probably starting right after the Super Bowl. After that gets going. Let's see who else is in here. Coda, what's up, Coda? He says Dalton Schultz is a free agent. I like Dalton Schultz. He seems like a pretty good player. I don't know much about his blocking, but I don't know much about him yet. A lot of people like Njoku. A lot of people like him, as a fit for the Titans. I've heard that his name brought up a lot. He's a good player, man. Let's see here.
I think one of the things the Titans we've got to start being realistic and some things. The Titans have to that we're going to lose some really good players. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. The salary cap issue, I think we're over $2 million, nearly $3 million over the salary cap at this point. We've got to drop some salary cap, and the only way to drop salary cap is usually just to lose good players. So, so I'm just not sure what exactly the Titans are going to be looking at. To be honest with you, I think I don't know if we were talking if this was off camera or earlier or whatever. We were talking about Roy Saffold, and I believe that he's going to be a cap casualty. I think Taylor Lewan may end up being a cap casualty, but that's going to be a really hard decision for the Titans because that that's why we're bringing up Dylan Radins. I'm just not sure what the Titans are going to do at this point, and I don't think they know what they're going to do at this point. There's a lot of evaluation that has to go on, but the Titans have to drop a lot of salary cap in order to, first of all, to sign any draft picks. They're going to have to drop at least 10 or 15 million in salary cap. So I'm just not sure exactly what they're going to do. It's going to be a tough one this year. We some of the fan favorites may not be on the team next year.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, they're gonna have to do something, and some of those guys. I mean, I don't mean this to sound bad, but some of those guys got to go. I mean, it's just part of the business. Hopefully, like I said, they can keep that intact. Billy Mann says, glad Titans for Life was able to join us after all that's happened to him lately. And Coda had said something too about, like, is that a hotel bed in the background? But yes, you guys, James here has been through a lot the last few weeks, and it's common knowledge now. It's out in the public, but his house did burn down right before the divisional game. The week of the divisional game, he sends me a text, and you said, something like, it was kind of cryptic at first, and it was like, you said it's gone, and I'm like, what do you mean it's gone? And you're like, the house is gone, and I'm like, what? But yeah, I mean, the guy's house literally burnt down all the way, pretty much. And so here is his. We're trying to get this out there, guys, and please share it out there. It's on my Twitter. He has a GoFundMe, and it'll be. I don't have it pinned in the chat, but it is in the description of this video. But go check out his GoFundMe, and whatever you guys can donate. If it's $5, $10, $1 million. But
hey, $1 million. Well, one of the things is that after
$1,
after really and truly, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to raise enough money for my son. His computer, we had just finished it when the house burned down, and it was completely destroyed. He spent all of his own money, 2 years worth of hard work that he put into it, raising his own money, getting it in, and building his computer. And I'm really just, I'm really trying to, the first thing that's going to be purchased is the stuff for his computer. The second thing is that I would like to keep, this going after all of this, to help other people in disasters who have gotten their house burned down or something like that, so that they can get some things that insurance. I just didn't really understand how much insurance doesn't pay for, and we have really good insurance, and they're not going to pay for most of the stuff that we lost, because it's just how insurance works. And the first few days, we had essentially just the clothes on our back, and we had credit cards, so we had to use those credit cards and things like that, and to get clothes and stuff like that. And I want to continue this, because this happens on the night that my house burned down, another house burned down, just in my same hometown. So it's been, I don't know, it's been hard on the family. It's been hard on me. It's been hard on making videos and getting things out. I'm on a borrowed computer. A friend of mine had one, but these things happen, and I would love to continue to go out and help people. Food was a big issue. Trying to get, eating out is a lot more expensive than being able to cook. And in a hotel, you don't have that much choice when it comes to cooking. You just can't. So anyway, we are in the middle of trying to get my son's computer. He's 11. He's kind of tore up about it. So we really want to. Yeah, it's Crazy Kid Science. He does a video. He does videos on YouTube for science. He's really into science and math. So if you can help out, please do, and know that I want to continue to help others after we're done with this, and we're as recovered as we can get. Psychologically, it's hard for me to look at my son and see him in the pain that he's in. And if I could just bring a small smile and go, son, look, here's your computer back. That would be more than enough for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's amazing. And it is. I did post the link. It's pinned in the YouTube here, so you guys can click on the link there. And anything you can give, even if it's $1, $5, whatever. Sauce, we appreciate you. He said he'll donate 5. So whatever you guys can do, it's much appreciated. So yeah, thank you guys so much for that. And so let's get to some more of these comments here, James. Some people got some stuff going on in here. Sauce says Jackrabbit has to go. I don't see Jackrabbit staying here. Do you?
The only way I see him staying here is in the stands watching the game.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you, I just don't. He became a little bit more effective as the season went along, but I just don't know. I see the kicker thing. Hey, look, leave Fat Randy alone. I like that.
Yeah.
I like him.
I like Randy.
And Randy is one of those guys. I think that he's dependable enough. He makes the kicks that we need.
And I don't see that. I don't know. Here's the interesting thing with Julio. I mean, and this is going to be a topic of debate the whole offseason, but I don't know, man. I don't see them letting Julio go. I'm not seeing it happen. I mean, maybe they will, but I think they probably feel like Julio's got a lot left now. Can he stay healthy? I don't know. I mean, I don't really know the extreme details of Julio's cap situation after June 1st, pre-June 1st, dead cap, all that stuff. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Julio. Do you see them letting him go?
Well, I just had it pulled up a few minutes ago. Pre-June 1st, the dead cap money is 13.2. We'd only save 1.1, so it's not really worth it.
To let him go.
Yeah, it's not really worth it to let him go. Post, it changes quite a bit. Post, his dead cap money is 4.8, and then it's 9.5 in savings. So it's one of those things where if he comes in and he's healthy and he's going good, I don't see them cutting him. But at the same time, if he comes in and he's really and he's really not effective, I don't know what they're going to do. Because that does free up nearly $10 million in salary cap post June 1st. I want him to keep him because I think he just wasn't as effective last year because I don't think they were using him in the proper way and he was injured. So
yeah. And it's just going to be an interesting offseason, man, especially for the offensive line. I mean, if they let Luan and Saffold go and then Quisenberry, I mean, you're looking at retooling the whole offensive line, and Ben Jones is a free agent. So, I mean, we could be seeing a whole new offensive line next year like we did defensive line last year or this past season. Interesting comment by No Flags Film about Landry. Interesting comment, I can kind of see where he's coming from in a sense, but at the same time, I think the guy's just starting to really kind of get to that being great level. Like, he was always good, but I think also the guys that they brought in enabled him to kind of play his game more and not have to play so much too. It opened him up a lot this season because you had guys like Dupree and Autry, and Landry is not having to play, 100% of the snaps and all that.
Yeah.
And also in getting open, I would like to see Landry be brought back. You're going to save a lot of money with cutting Luan, Saffold. Some of these guys, you're going to save a lot of money. and you're going to have some money to play with. What we've seen with J-Rob is he's good at working the cap. So,
well, if the Titans can get past the next year or so, I think the way they did the salary cap was the year that there weren't fans in the seats. There was they prorated that over a 3-year period, so they're going to be able to get back to what the salary cap really should be. So after next year, I think you're going to see the salary cap jump a lot. So if we can just get past the next year or so, I think it's fine. The problem with Landry is that he is going to be expensive.
And Eduardo says definitely donating. Still hate the Titans, right? I hear you, man. A lot of people are very disappointed. They're still disappointed. I get where you're coming from, but don't lose the faith, guys. I think we got a great nucleus. Like we have a really good head coach. We got a really good GM, and we got an incredible owner. I was talking about this, and I don't know if some of you guys were in here yet, but I've been watching the Man in the Arena series on ESPN about Brady, and basically it's about the Patriots and them winning all the games in the Super Bowls. But the value of having a front office like we have, I mean, a lot of teams don't have that. You're talking about a lot of teams. There's a lot of quarrels and fighting going on between the front office and which players to get. You got a lot of power hungry GMs out there that just want who they want. And I think you got a lot of power hungry owners, Jerry Jones, Schneider from Washington, all those guys, a lot of them around the league. I would say the majority of owners are like that, where they want to have, they're saying it. And the great thing about Amy, and we've talked about this, is, she lets those guys do their jobs, and we got a great nucleus. I was pissed off after that game. We were together. You were with me. We were both. I mean, just the whole stadium. I mean, people were pissed after that game.
Oh, yeah.
And rightfully so. But I've kind of calmed down a little bit. I've looked at what we've got. I've looked at our roster. I've looked at who we might be losing. But I have faith that J-Rob and Vrabel can bring in, and this is why I say this, James. This is one of the main reasons why I say this, because of what they did on defense last year. I mean, you talk about a Jekyll and Hyde defense. You talk about, we literally had, and this is no lie, and everybody's heard it, we had the worst third down defense in NFL history last year. In over 100 years of the NFL playing football, we had the worst, at least the worst since they recorded that stat. And they've been recording that stat for a long time. And you look at the guys they brought in. They brought in some incredible pieces. Dupree, Autry, bringing in Cunningham at the end. All those guys, man. Tierra Tart. I think Tierra Tart's going to be a piece moving forward. Obviously, the guys we already have, Simmons, things like that. That's why I have faith in Vrabel and J-Rob. That's why I have faith that if they have to retool the offensive line, I think they can do it. What do you think? I mean, am I wrong on that? Am I wrong to believe that and to have faith like that in what they could do?
This is, I don't want to sound negative, okay, but this is how I feel about it, is that defensively, I think that the Titans, because Vrabel is a defensive coach, it was a little easier for him to retool the defense.
Yeah,
I think it was a little easier, and then he had help with Schwartz. He had, and he had some help right there. Offensively, I think it's a little more difficult because he's not an offensive coach. He's not an offensive-minded coach. Therefore, he's got to rely on a guy who I just don't have a lot of confidence in our coordinator, offensive coordinator. I just don't have a lot of confidence in him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these guys are all professionals, and I think J-Rob is probably one of the best at identifying talent that may not be how do I put it evident at first. He's one of the best at doing that and getting deep into the draft, getting somebody that no one else um, can see. So I'm not sure how to answer that other than to say I have a lot more confidence that they can do it on defense again and again and again. I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of confidence that they can do it on the offensive line because the offensive line has been where the Titans have had the most misses.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That you make a very good point. And thank you for the $2 donation, Titan 2K. Yes, I do think we definitely need to win a Super Bowl. Hopefully we can. You make a very good point there, and maybe bringing in a guy like Kelly, maybe that's something he can help out with, hopefully, and hopefully that's something they take a lot closer look at this year and say, hey, we've missed on a lot of guys. We missed on offensive linemen, this and that. Hopefully that's something that they'll really take into consideration this offseason and say, hey, man, we need to hit it on these guys that we pick up. We need to hit it on these picks because, it's not much margin for error, especially when you're in a potential Super Bowl roster type of window. You still got your nucleus, AJ, Henry, those guys.
Yeah.
So
our window, I've been looking at this. Our window is we have about 2 more years left in this window.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we have about 2 more years left in this window. And one of the things that I got into a conversation with someone else about the Titans, and they're like, "Oh, well, you went to you got the number 1 seed and you blew it, blah 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 blah." And he is a football fan, but he is a Jacksonville Jaguar football fan. And I said, "Well, at least we're not the Jaguars."
Yeah, man, and yeah, we could be a lot of other teams that are
Yeah.
going through, like the Texans and all that, man. I mean, yeah, I mean it's easy to and I'm guilty of this. I mean, I made some stupid tweets after that game. I'm still pissed at Tannehill. I mean, I'm not gonna. It's gonna take a long time for me to let that go. And I posted a tweet on my page today, and it got a lot of attention. I really didn't think it would, just because it was just kind of a tweet I made, and I was watching that series with Brady, and one of the things that he said was, I think the quarterback's job is to not lose the game. I mean, that's basically what he said. It was as simple as that. And I think he makes a very good point. And I don't want to get into all that, again with what happened in the game, but this is something that I thought was very true, and I mean, yeah, we blame it on Downing and everything, but at the end of the
I would
day,
agree. I would agree with that statement, but I also think there's another statement that I grew up, when I was in coaching and things like that. One of the things that one of our that the guy who ran the program when I was in Jacksonville, one of the things he told me is yeah, the players are not to lose the game, but the coaches are not to put them in a position to where they can lose the game.
yeah,
So,
no, that's very true too.
um, so I have a couple of questions that I've been wondering, and I haven't touched on them in our phone calls or anything like that. Where, if you were let's say that you were the dictator for a day on the Titans, and you could do whatever you wanted to do. Uh, what would you do? And that includes, you know, cut Tannehill without a salary cap hit, or cut Kendall Lamb. The salary cap is not an issue. We're just talking about what's the one thing that they said you can do one thing and one thing only. What would it be?
What, just anything? Like, does
Yeah,
that include like bringing in any other player,
yeah,
or like? I mean, man, that's tough. I mean, if you're looking at if I'm being a dictator and I can do anything I want in the NFL world,
hmm
yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the obvious, and I'm going to say I would, if I could have like any player, or let's make it, for me, I'm going to make it a little more realistic, I guess. Say with Rodgers and Russell Wilson out there.
hmm
And say Deshaun Watson, you could throw in who else that might be available quarterback wise. There's somebody else that's available. I don't know, that's pretty good. But um I honestly I would get rid of Tannehill and bring in, I would love to see Russell Wilson in a Titans uniform. That's just me. I would rather have Russell Wilson over Aaron Rodgers. That's just me. If it was a perfect world and Wilson was there, and you could just cut Tannehill and no strings attached, no dead cap space,
hmm
you know, I would bring in Russell Wilson just because I would love to see Russell Wilson and that deep ball he's got
yeah,
going to AJ. I think he just changes your whole. I just love how his quickness, and I think he would be great with Henry, because I was watching some old film of the Seahawks today
yeah,
because of that show, because they were going back and showing the Super Bowls against the Seahawks with the Patriots, and I was watching Wilson work with that offense with what was the running back's name? The famous running back, the
beast mode.
beast mode, yeah.
Marshawn
What's his name?
Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch, yeah. And I was just thinking, like, man, I was just getting kind of visions of like Russell Wilson with Henry, you know, and it just kind of bringing me back to how that offense ran. Now, you can make a point and say, okay, those Seattle offenses then weren't like that great, but they also didn't have a receiver like AJ Brown or
Yeah,
Julio back then. Now they got DK Metcalf and Lockett and all those guys, but back
yeah,
then they were more like us. They were run the football, kind of roll Wilson out, make plays like that. That's what I would do. Um, what would you do?
um, as soon as I say this, you're gonna go, yeah. Um,
Okay.
Travis Kelsey.
Really?
Yeah,
Just Kelsey? Just
just
bring in
Kelsey.
Kelsey?
Just bring in Kelsey. He can
Nah,
block. He can catch, and
yeah,
he can put Tannehill in a position to where he doesn't have to make bonehead throws. You know, um,
yeah.
bring in Travis Kelsey. I think our offense completely changes its philosophy. I think I think it completely changes what the defenses do. They no longer are able to stack 8 and 9 men in the box. They got to play their base, just because. Hey, Travis Kelsey will come up there.
And let us know
I,
in the chat. Let us know in the chat. Gabriel said you can't say dictator of Titans and only give us one thing we could check. But that's the game. That's the game we're playing right now. So
yeah,
if there's
I would seriously bring in Travis Kelsey. But I think one of the things that I think the Titans miss is Jonnu Smith. I really
yeah,
think that they
definitely.
miss him, and I don't think he's being used correctly now. But it's one of those things where he was a casualty of the cap. It is what it is. We weren't going to pay him what New England was going to pay him.
Yeah, and let us know in the chat what you think. If there's, be the dictator of the Titans. If there's one thing you could one player you could bring in, anything you want to do, but it's only one. It's only one move you can make, whether that's, dropping Tanny, bringing somebody, replacing Tannehill, whatever. Like Titans for Life says, bringing in Kelsey would solve all of our problems on offense.
No, I didn't say all of them.
I'm just messing with
but it does take a lot of pressure off of the offensive line because they're not facing 8 and 9 guys in the box. They're not having to, do a whole lot of things down there. So I think the tight end position just was. If I were to give each position a grade, the tight end position was an F.
Yeah.
And if I could give an F minus, it was an F minus. Followed closely with a D minus on the right side of the offensive line. The left side of the offensive line, I would give probably a B plus. The defensive line, you got to give them an A because they played lights out this year. The linebackers, I would probably give them a B plus to an A. And the safety positions and corners, I would have to say somewhere around a B plus C. But when it comes to the wide receivers, I'd have to punt on that one. I don't think outside of A.J. Brown, anyone else got any kind of separation at all. And that can't happen. Come on, you're man-to-man and you're not getting open.
And I just saw in a tweet that the 615 podcast said and I meant to watch that tonight. I guess it's on.
I'm watching it right now. That's why
Vrabel
over.
Vrabel won Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So he won the official AP. Who won the MVP? I was trying to look it up. Did they say that yet?
I haven't seen it, but we've been in pretty intense conversations here. But if there's one group that I don't have a lot of confidence in, it is the tight end group. It really is. So I guess the other question that I kind of had for you is, if you were if you're sitting there, you looked at the defense. What linebackers are we keeping? What linebackers would you keep? Who would you let go?
I mean, I would, I would let go of Evans and Brown. And depending on the cap situation with Cunningham, I would love to keep Cunningham and Long out there. You still got Monty Rice back there. I wouldn't mind seeing Evans and Brown go. Obviously, if you're talking about outside linebackers, that could include Dupree, Landry. I would love to keep Landry, but I would let Evans and Brown go.
Well, Zach Cunningham has no cap hit. He's got no dead money.
Okay.
But his cap savings, if we cut him, is 10.4. Yeah, 10.4.
Really, if you cut him?
Yeah.
That might change things then. I don't know. I mean, is he good enough to where you want to keep him? I mean, or do you cut all three of them and go with Monty Rice? I don't know if you're. I don't know, man. That's a tough one, dude. That's a really tough one because what did we really see out of Evans and Brown that would warrant us? Because they're both gonna get paid. Like what? I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
Well, I think they're both going to get paid, but I think they're going to be overpaid.
I do
I really
too.
do. I
I do
don't.
too.
I just don't see Evans or Brown as some others do. But then again, I could be wrong. I kind of missed on Zach Cunningham because maybe they're not being used in the Titans defense, the way they should be used. Maybe they're not, they're not, maybe they're just not being, this isn't the type of defense they need to be in. It's one of those things where you can't tell until they get somewhere else. Oh, they really were good. So to me, I would go with, I would keep one of the two. I would
Yeah.
keep uh, Brown or Evans. I would try to keep one or the other, but if push came to shove and I just couldn't afford them, then it is what it is. I mean, we have a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of holes to be filled and a lot of guys that have to be signed.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna share this screen real quick. If I can find it here. Share screen, Chrome. Bear with me. Here we go. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and just watch it here.
I believe in this team. Okay, the gift that you give me is you let me coach this football
Oh no!
team.
There we go.
Great mindset. Keep competing out there, all right? Smile a little bit, have some fun. Find a way to get it. Just keep playing. 11. Toss him Obama. Mahomes. Damn him! Come on, D! Go score. Here we go. Go score. Go score. This is the moment.
Oh, come on. We can get it to work. Well, anyways, it's freezing up. But Vrabel won Coach of the Year. Let's see if we can pause it for a little while, then we'll get back to it. But yeah, Vrabel won Coach of the Year, so something that's very cool, man. Very cool that he won that, and deservingly so. I think he was well deserving of it. I mean, 91 dress players. I mean, I think it's just I'm glad he won it, man. I'm glad they didn't snub him. I thought they were going to give it to Zach Taylor. I really did. The only thing is they did vote before the season was over, but I just had this feeling that it was going to shift and that way, and they're just going to give it to Zach Taylor. So,
but how many weeks before everybody else was saying did my video come out? Vrabel should be Coach of the Year. How many weeks before that? I was out there saying that weeks and weeks and weeks before.
Yeah, you were.
And I was just looking. I was just straight up looking at what was going on. Let's see. Is it going to work?
Let's see.
This is the moment. This is why you're here.
Here comes the blitz. He stands in and delivers.
Touchdown! For the touchdown.
These are all the
McVay is all the way in the end zone.
nominations, maybe.
Yeah.
Screw it. Anyways, yeah, he wins Coach of the Year, so that's awesome. I know there was some other players that won. TJ Watt won Defensive Player of the Year. I saw that. If you guys in the chat know who all won, you can post them in there. And I think Micah Parsons won Defensive Rookie of the Year, or was it just Rookie of the Year? Let's see here. Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt, which doesn't surprise me, had 22 and a half sacks, tying Michael Strahan's single season record. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jamar Chase, doesn't surprise me. Definitely deserves it. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Micah Parsons, doesn't surprise me either. Heck of a player. Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Burrow. Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel, our very own. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. So that's all the awards at the moment. I know Derrick Henry was at the awards ceremony. I don't know is he up for something?
Yeah,
maybe because he was
for Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Okay, I think he won it, didn't he? I don't know. So, anyways, let's see here. So yeah, we've got to the offensive line, we've got to kind of the defense and all that stuff. You know, I it's going to be tough. I mean, and I keep going back to this in my mind. It's going to be tough to the fan in me, and I've said this already. I've said it a few times. The fan in me wants the fan in me wants Luan to stay, but what's the best for the team, right? I mean, he was hurt a lot, and at the end of the day, it's a business. Luan knows that. It'd be kind of sad to see him retire. I wish if he did get let go, I wish he would go on and try and play for somebody else and see if he can, unless he just wants to quit and his body's just, can't do it anymore. MB says, can't wait to see Henry as a 2023 comeback player of the year. Titan Anderson's in the building. What's up, Titan Anderson?
What's up, my man? What are you doing, Titan? Titan Anderson's been, oh man, I tell you, I love watching him. He has so much excitement whenever you watch him.
Yeah.
He's all in, like 100% of the time. It's like that commercial where they're doing the Tide Cold and Stone Cold Steve Austin says that man needs to settle down.
TA is awesome, man. He's one of the OGs, and he's really good at what he does. You know what I mean? And he's a personal friend of mine as well. And I can't say, there's so many good things you could say about the guy. He's helped me out a lot. So big shout out to him. And y'all go follow Titan Anderson if you haven't yet. He's definitely part of this squad. And much love to you, my friend. The 615 says MVP is usually the last award or not. Let's talk about that, man. Let's go over that for a minute. Who do you think's going to win the MVP? And let me know in the chat as well. Who do y'all think is going to win the MVP tonight?
I can't remember when they voted on that. When was that voted on?
That's tonight. It's voted on tonight. It's the last award of the night.
I mean, I thought that they voted on it before, and it's just it's tabulated and then it's given out tonight. I thought that
they vote on it. They voted on it at the end of the season after the last game, so it's based on the season.
So I would say I would probably say it's going to end up being Tom Brady.
Really, you think so? I've heard that. I've heard a lot of people saying that. Aaron Rodgers. It's like he won it last year, right?
I believe so.
He had a really good season, but I could see Brady winning it, man. I could see Brady winning it.
Another guy I would look at is probably Dak Prescott. He had a phenomenal season until he didn't. There's a couple of guys who I think are the guys who could be that, and then you could have Watt win it too. I mean,
yeah,
an awful lot of sacks.
When's the last time a defensive player won the MVP? Probably Charles Woodson or something.
Yeah, I think it was Woodson.
Jay Tyrus brings up a good point. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
he had a record-breaking season. Not the most yards, but he was like second or third in history in a season. So Mark says Rodgers or Kupp, Brady or Kupp. I mean, I guess it'd be cool to see Brady get it.
I think a lot of the writers kind of knew that this was Brady's last hurrah. Just by his body movement and kind of the things that he was doing, and his press conferences were a little bit more lighter than usual. When he was talking, he would tell a joke or two here or there, whereas normally he was just kind of this bland kind of, yeah, we got to work better on that, or I got to. He would tell a few jokes and stuff like that. So I think that they kind of knew that this is probably it for him. So they probably, me personally, I think they would be like, okay, let's give Tom Brady MVP one more time. It's his last time. That's just me.
Yeah. Titans 2K says Trevor Lawrence looked surprisingly good versus Colts Week 18. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence gets the MVP tonight. So, anyways, guys, we're gonna start shutting it down here, man. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And y'all go
No problem.
check out Titans for Life. His YouTube channel. He's been posting some videos again here recently. And I know you're kind of still rolling with this thing. And again, guys, please, it's pinned in the chat here at the top of the chat. Please go donate to James's GoFundMe if you can. Anything you can give is much appreciated. His kid lost his computer in the fire, and he had a YouTube page, and James lost his too, and that's something, the insurance is not paying for all of that stuff. And these guys are basically living in a hotel right now. So, anything y'all can do. What you got coming up in the future, man? I know you just joined us, the Titan Uploading Network, so you became a member. And, here's the newest member, Spicy Curry Productions is on there. And, Sauce Monster is also a member of this network as well. But what you got coming up, dude?
Well, I have some research that I've been doing over the last week or so. It takes me a little bit longer to do research because the computer that I have is not exactly the fastest. So I've been doing some research. I've got a video that I want to make tomorrow, really just talking about, there are not a lot of women owners of major franchises, and we happen to have one. And I just want to, kind of talk about the impact that Amy has had since she's taken over. So that's one of the things that I want to look at tomorrow, and I'm going to go in depth into her, where she essentially, wasn't it her brother, or who was the right after Bud Adams passed, there was a controlling owner, and he was a disaster. And
I think I can't remember. I want to say it was I want to say it was her brother. It was somebody in the family.
yeah,
For sure.
and then once she took over, she made all the right moves. She started making all the right moves and getting the team the way she wanted it, and getting everything together and creating the culture in the front office. I mean, those are the types of things that we as fans kind of don't understand or don't see every day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and the fact that she went out and took a chance on J. Rob, and said, "Look, yeah, I know he's young. Yeah, I know this and that. He's from the Nashville area. He's got passion. I want him," and went out and hired him. I think she's done a phenomenal job at that. I think she's done a phenomenal job at some other things, kind of behind the scenes. For the longest time, what was Bud Adams would never spend money, and she's just kind of like, okay, let's do this. Going out and getting players, spending money to get players.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. And real quick, I think I do have the video pulled up and download, so let's watch it. This is Mike Vrabel winning the Coach of the Year tonight.
And the 2021 AP Coach of the Year is... My fingers got too much grease on them. Mike Vrabel! What up, Coach?
Thank you. It is an honor and a privilege to play and coach in this league. Okay, and having coached in the Pro Bowl, I know our game is in good hands. My job and every coach's job is to teach, develop, and to make a connection and make an impact. And I want to thank our owner, I want to thank Miss Amy Adams Strunk. That a girl. And I want to thank my family. I want to thank my wife, Jen. I want to thank Tyler and Carter. I want to thank my best friend. I want to thank Stretch. Okay, this is a reflection of our 91 players that help us win 12 games and our coaching staff. So thank you, and this is a pleasure. Thank you.
So there you go. That's pretty cool, man. Somebody had sent me a message and said he didn't thank J-Rob in question mark. I don't know. Maybe he just forgot to there or something. But that's cool, man.
I think I don't know how to explain Vrabel, but from what I know of him, he's one of the kind of guys. He's not, he's thankful for getting it, but it wasn't a goal of his.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? He's not the kind of guy who likes to be pushed out there in the spotlight with accolades. Just watch his press conferences. He's just kind of, he is what he is, and he's a no nonsense kind of guy. And I think that's why coaches love him and players love him. That's why you hear every player that was at the Pro Bowl. There's like, man, he's no nonsense, but he's fun.
Yeah.
So I think it was one of those things where he's just like, yeah, I want it. Thank you. I'm appreciative, but this wasn't my goal. This little trophy isn't my goal. My goal is that big silver one with the football on top.
Yeah. And I think it's coming, man. Have we? I don't think we've ever had a coach of the year, right? And
No, I don't
Titan, even Oilers history. So maybe we have an Oilers history, but I don't think so.
I don't think Bum ever won it. So
I don't think so either. Even after that,
no, I don't think. I think. Jeff Fisher came in close one time. I think he was like second or third in voting, but he didn't win it. If I'm not mistaken, I could be misremembering it. So I don't think we've had one, but I think we've gotten close a couple of times.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a good way to end the show. Vrabel winning Coach of the Year. That's something, man. I mean, he's a great coach. I'm glad he brought up the 91 players. That's a huge deal. I mean, I remember them showing a stat during the season of all the teams that had, had the most injuries at one point throughout the years, and every team was literally like 6-10, 5-11. I think one team might have been 8-8 or something, but I mean, for what he did, hats off to Vrabel, man. And
I don't know of any other coach in the NFL that could have done that. I really don't.
I don't either. He gets the best out of his players, man, and that's something. And I keep going back to this series. If y'all haven't watched it, you need to. It's amazing. That's something they were saying during the series is you could tell even then that he was going to be a coach, just the way that he acted on the field and everything. And they actually said that Vrabel, out of everybody on that team, and Brady said this during the series, that Vrabel talked crap to him more than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But did it in a respectful way, and that's why players love him, and I think
there's three types of coaches that I've ran into in my life. The kind of coaches you don't want to play for, the kind of coaches you'll play for, and the kind of coaches you'll run through a brick wall and walk through the gates of hell with.
Yeah.
And he's that last one. He's one of those guys that I tell you, they're hard to find, and when you do find them, you can never let them go.
I mean, imagine
innovating.
Imagine playing for some of these coaches out there, like the guy from what's his name that coached. Man, I'm just drawing blanks tonight of names, but the guy who coached Jacksonville, Urban Meyer. But even the coaches who
I wouldn't have done it.
Even all across the league, if you look at some of these guys and their personalities, you're like, golly, But yeah, man, it's amazing. It is amazing what he's done. for sure. Having a coach like that, I think, our staff coaching the Pro Bowl, I think is a bigger deal
Oh yeah.
than we might think, because a lot of players who never got to be around Vrabel, big name players. I think it's good for us,
Yeah.
because even if it doesn't happen this year or next year, maybe some of those guys are like, hey, this guy's cool, man. I would love to play for this guy, and it kind of plants that seed in their heads.
I was listening to Sirius XM NFL radio the other day, and they were talking about some of the guys they were interviewing all the guys from the Pro Bowl, and they were going through this long line, and a lot of the Titans players were asked, "Is this how he really is all the time?" And he's like, "Man, yeah, this is him all the time." And then he's like, "He'll jump on you and get all over you, but he'll make you laugh about it." At the same time. So, the guys are that play for him love him. And the guys who don't play for him want to play for him.
Yeah, man.
And he's got all these guys who are the best of the best in the NFL are going, hey, the Titans might be a place I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think you're right, dude. I think it couldn't hurt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for all your comments. Y'all have been awesome. Jay says Cooper Kupp won Offensive Player of the Year. So good for him. So he's not gonna win the MVP. So it's gonna be a quarterback. Brady or Rodgers is more than likely gonna win the MVP. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind seeing Brady win it if he truly did retire. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to come back and try and do something just because he's crazy and he loves the game too much. I think he's going to come back. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. So, anyways,
I think Brady is done. If he's going to do anything, he's going to try to get into coaching, or maybe try to get into a front office somewhere. That's what I think Brady is going to end up doing.
Oh, real quick, what's your Super Bowl prediction? You got a prediction?
I do not.
Okay.
I literally haven't been able to watch much football. Just simply because not just because I have a TV here in the hotel room, and it's got NFL Network. It has all, but I was so heartbroken after the Titans lost that I kind of lost my will to watch football for a little while, because every time I started watching a game or something, I was like, that could have been the Titans. This should have been a Titans plan.
Yeah.
So I'm still bitter.
Yeah, no, I know, man. I am too, and a lot of people were. So I do have a prediction. All right, and I released it on Twitter earlier, and you're gonna think I'm nuts. But here is my prediction for the Super Bowl. The Rams are gonna win it, 23-16, and an all too familiar score.
Yeah,
23-16. The Rams pull it off, and Jamar Chase.
Hold on, wait. It was Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, of course.
Won. Yeah.
Of course he won it. Imagine that. I mean, I guess he deserved it. I didn't really look at his stats this year, but I know he had a heck of a year. So, hats off to Rodgers. So he will not be a Titan, but hats off to him. So anyways, my prediction is 23-16. The Rams beat the Bengals, and either Tyler Boyd or Higgins. I'm not going to say Chase is going to be the one to catch it, but I think it's going to be Boyd for whatever reason. Boyd is going to get stopped on the 1 yard line.
Oh my God.
Boyd is going to get stopped on the 1 yard line by the linebacker Reader for the Bengals. kind of like Mike Jones did against Dyson. But they're going to go to Boyd because nobody's going to be covering Boyd. But there's going to be one linebacker, and that's going to be Reeder. And he's going to be right there on the 1 yard line, and he's going to stop Boyd. They're going to lose the Super Bowl by 1 yard. And all the Bengals fans, all across this great nation of ours, and across the world, if they are Bengal fans in other parts of the world, they're all going to be crying, huge, giant Bengal tears. And they're going to go home so sad. And it's just going to be so debilitating. They're not even going to want to watch football. They're going to give up on their team. So that's my prediction. I hope the Bengals – look, man, I still have a lot of animosity. And you know why I do? This is why. Because when we were at that game, the way they acted after they beat us, to me, was so disrespectful. Like, they came running towards the thing, taking their hats off, jarring at the fans and all that stuff. Act like you've been there before. I know you've never been there before. But at least, my daddy always told me, act like you've been there before. I get it, a little bit of this and that. But why you got to go after the fans? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, why you got to act like a bunch of fools? So I hope the Bengals lose in the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching loss that has ever been in Super Bowl history. I hope it's worse than the Titans versus the Rams. I hope it's the worst loss. I hope it's something that's never even happened before, and it's so terrible that they all go home crying. Yes, I am still very salty. I don't care that they've never won a Super Bowl before. I don't care about Burrow or any of them, Chase or any of them. I want to see Stafford win a ring, and I want to see the Bengals lose it in the most dramatic, gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching fashion there is. I'll quit now.
When I was in Virginia, I had this kid. He scored his first touchdown ever. And he didn't celebrate. He didn't do anything. He got up, handed the ball to the referee, walked over to the sideline and said, "You're not going to celebrate with your teammates?" And he's like, "No, I'm going right back." He goes, "I'll be right back in the end zone in a few minutes. Not worth celebrating."
Yeah.
And and that was his attitude. That was his thought process. Why would I celebrate when I'm going to be right back there anyway? And that, I think a lot of professional football players could take that lesson that I learned from that kid. I mean, I learned that from him. The sidelines was yeah, and he's just like, "I'm going right back."
That's funny. Grandizer says it's okay, Titans for life. Somewhere around the nation, a Titans fan took out his frustration on Titans loss by punching holes in the wall, breaking windows, or kicking the dog and the cat. I didn't kick my cats because they're big Titans fans, so they're as crushed as I am. But we were me and Titans for life, James, were together at the game. We sat side by side. It was gut-wrenching, man. It was gut-wrenching.
We even walked to go get our cars because we were parked in the same parking lot.
Yeah, man. It was tough. It was tough.
And I was like, "Do you want to go get something to eat?" And he's like, "No, not really." That's how bad we felt. It was like we didn't even really want to eat. I was like, I could eat something, but no, not really.
Yeah, man.
I just want to get back home.
Yeah. It was tough, man. It was the toughest loss I've ever witnessed. I mean, I don't know, man. The game they lost after the Super Bowl year when we played the Ravens and Del Greco missed the kick and all that. Yeah. That was pretty tough. That was a pretty tough one too. The Super Bowl loss was obviously, nothing was worse than the Super Bowl loss to me. Nothing. I think like 17, 16. I cried. I literally cried. I had tears coming down my face that game. So nothing was worse than that. But this year really hurt. It was just man, it was just we were there, man. We had the team, we were healthy, but in J-Rob and Vrabel, we trust. Let's keep moving on, and yeah, tighten up, guys. We're going to end there. Thank you guys so much. Please tighten up that like button before you leave. Please like and subscribe. And like I said,
Yeah.
James is the newest member of the Titan Upload Network. Go follow his channel too.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson did win the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good for him.
Like I said, when you see me glancing over and I'm looking like this, it's because the TV is right there.
So
But
I
anyway.
thought Henry, did they give one a Man of the Year for every team of the league too? Didn't
Yes.
Henry win it for our team, I guess?
Yes. Yeah. Every team has
Okay.
to nominate one of the a person for the Walter Payton Man of the Year, and this year it was the Titans nominated Derrick Henry.
Oh, he was the nominee. Okay.
Yeah. But you know, I think that the Titans would. I think once we figure out what we're going to do with our salary cap situation, I think everything else will come right in. But you know, everything else will crystallize. But anyway, it is getting late. It's I've got to get up in the morning. So I'm man, thanks for having me back on. I'd love to do this again sometime in a week or two.
Yeah,
I'm
man,
gonna have
for
a
sure.
video out tomorrow. Hopefully, it's gonna have to be live because I don't have a way to edit it. So anyway,
yeah, man, we'll do it again very soon. So tighten up, everybody. We are getting out of here this time. I promise. So tighten up. We'll see you guys later.
Keep it real.